He agrees to take the matter in hand, but I can tell he's not optimistic. He's aware as well as I am that they're not in any hurry to pay up. We end the call on a somewhat tense note, and I'm left feeling somewhat drained. It's as though every time I think I'm getting closer to a resolution, something else crops up to drag me back down the next day. I received a message from my lawyer inquiring if I was prepared to proceed with the lawsuit. I recognize that this is a pivotal moment where I must decide whether to pursue legal action or to seek a resolution with my parents. I sent a final text to my mother, reminding her of the deadline and informing her that if they were unable to secure the funds by the end of the day, I would be filing the lawsuit the following morning. As the hours passed, I did not receive any response. I'm coming to terms with the reality that I may have to take my own parents to court to secure what I'm owed. It's a challenging situation, and it's difficult to make sense of it all. Just as I'm starting to lose hope, I receive a text from my dad. It's brief but to the point. He says they've managed to gather some funds and will be able to. He simply states that they will start paying me back in installments. While this is not exactly the victory I was hoping for, it is a step in the right direction. At least now I know they are taking me seriously. I text back, telling him that I will accept the payments, but that I will be keeping a close eye on them to make sure they follow through. I also tell him that if they miss a single payment, I will have no choice but to file the lawsuit. If they miss a single payment, I will have no choice but to file the lawsuit. He agrees, and that's that. I finally feel like I'm getting some control back over my life, but it's bittersweet. I've had to fight tooth and nail to get here, and my relationship with my parents and brother is probably beyond repair. But at least now I can start moving forward, knowing that I did what I had to do to protect myself. It's a strange feeling, relief mixed with sadness, anger mixed with sadness. I feel a sense of closure, but I am aware that I must not allow myself to be taken advantage of again. This is the start of a new chapter, and I am determined to make the most of it, regardless of what may come. Update 2. After my father agreed to start repaying me in installments, I was hopeful that things might begin to settle. While it was not the resolution I had hoped for, it was encouraging to see that they were taking some responsibility. I thought, okay, we can do this. We can just move on and I can focus on my life again. However, as is often the case with my family, things didn't go as smoothly as I'd hoped. The first few payments came through, and I was starting to feel like there was some light at the end of the tunnel. It wasn't much, but it was something, and I was holding on to that like a lifeline. I was even starting to think that maybe, in time, we could repair some of the damage that had been done. I must admit that I was rather optimistic in my expectations at that time. However, the payments suddenly ceased, without any prior indication or explanation. I was left wondering if there had been a technical issue, but after several days, there was still no sign of the money. I was trying to remain calm and avoid jumping to conclusions, but I was starting to feel a sense of unease. I decided to give it a few more days to see if there was any change. I've been trying to convince myself that they're just delayed and that they'll come through eventually. However, as the days turn into weeks, I can't ignore the truth anymore. It seems that they're not going to pay, and they've gone back on their word, just like they always do. This has left me back to square one with nothing to show for all the stress and heartache I've gone through. I'm feeling frustrated and disappointed. They have been trying to keep me off their backs until they thought I'd let it go. But I'm not sure I can let them off the hook this time. I pick up my phone and start drafting a text to my dad laying it all out. I tell them that they've missed their payment and I'm not sure I can work with them on this. I give them one last chance to explain themselves, but I make it clear that if I don't hear from them by the end of the I decide to file the lawsuit first thing tomorrow. I send the text and then wait and wait and wait. I pace around my apartment, trying to keep myself from completely losing it. I keep checking my phone every few minutes, but there's no response. It seems like they've just decided to ghost me, hoping I'll get tired and give up. However, they don't know me as well as they think they do. I'm done being after what feels like an extended period of patience. My phone finally buzzes with a text from my mother. From the first few words, it seems like the message might not be entirely positive. She expresses regret for missing the payment but acknowledges that recent circumstances have been challenging and that financial constraints are a reality at the moment. She kindly requests more time and understanding, emphasizing that they are doing their best. As I read this, I feel a sense of frustration and anger. I believe they are not doing their best. It seems like they are trying to buy more time, hoping I will eventually let it go. However, I am struggling to do so. I have already given them more chances than I feel they deserve, and they have not taken advantage of me in a way that justifies this lack of resolution. I text back and am more assertive this time. I tell her that I have given them more than enough time and I have been patient, but I am now at my limit. I will be filing the lawsuit tomorrow if they do not have the money. I would appreciate it if they could provide me with a solution without further delays. I am tired of being treated like a doormat. The rest of the day was a blur of emotions. I am angry, frustrated, and exhausted. I have been fighting this battle for a long time and I am starting to feel like I am running out of steam. However, I know that I cannot give up now. If I were to let them win, I would never be able to look at myself in the mirror again. Therefore, I brace myself for what is to come, knowing that it will not be easy. That night, I cannot sleep. My mind is racing with everything that has happened. I keep going over the conversations, the broken promises, and the lies. I am trying to figure out where it all went wrong. But the more I think about it, the more I realize that this has been the pattern for some time. They have consistently placed Evan's needs above mine, and I have often been left to clean up the resulting messes. The next morning, I wake up feeling like I've been hit by a truck. I'm exhausted and emotionally drained, but I know I have to follow through. I get up, make some coffee, and start gathering all the documents I'll need to file the lawsuit. I've got everything organized. I have gathered all the evidence, emails, and texts that I believe to be relevant to my case. While I am confident in the strength of my case, I recognize that it is still challenging. Just as I am about to head out to meet with my lawyer, my phone rings. It is my mother. For a moment, I consider ignoring the call, but I feel compelled to answer. When I do, I hear her crying on the other end of the line. She is pleading with me not to proceed with the lawsuit, suggesting that they will find a solution. I listen to her and for a moment I feel a pang of guilt. I don't want to hurt her or be the reason my family falls apart, but I also don't want to be the one to back down. I remind her that I've already given them more than enough chances and that I'm not backing down. She keeps crying and begging, but I repeat myself, stating that I am not backing down. Eventually, she gives up and hangs up, leaving me standing there feeling like I have made a mistake. I know I cannot get caught up in their drama again. I must stay strong and protect myself, even if it means hurting the people I care about. I meet with my lawyer later that day and we begin the process of filing the lawsuit. It is surreal sitting there in his office signing papers that could change everything. It is possible that things could change. I am still hoping that they will come through at the last minute and do the right thing, but I am not overly optimistic about the next few days. I start getting calls and texts from family members, cousins, aunts, and even a couple of friends. It seems that the lawsuit has become known, and everyone has an opinion. Some people are supportive and tell me that I am doing the right thing and that I have to stand up for myself. Others are less supportive. Some people say that I'm causing division within the family, that I'm being selfish, and that I should just let it go. It's difficult to hear these comments, especially from people I thought I could count on. However, I recognize that they may not fully comprehend the circumstances I've faced. They may not have a complete understanding of the years of frustration and hurt that led to this point. I try not to let these comments affect me, but it's challenging. I feel like I'm losing everything. My family, my support system. I've come to realize that I'm doing this because I deserve better. I'm tired of being the one who always has to sacrifice. I'm doing it because I need to take control of my life. I know there will be some challenges along the way, but I'm determined to keep moving forward. It will undoubtedly be a challenging journey, but I am resolved to see this through to the end. I have invested a great deal in this endeavor and I am not willing to relinquish the outcome. I would like to provide an update on my situation. It has been a few weeks since I initiated legal proceedings against my parents. I must admit that it has been one of the most difficult experiences I have encountered. I had not anticipated being in this position, having to take legal action against my own family. I never imagined that I would be in this position, suing my own family in court. If you had told me a year ago that I would be doing this, I would have laughed in your face. However, here we are. The first thing I noticed after the news got out was how quickly people took sides. It seemed as though everyone in the family had an opinion, and many of them were eager to share it. Some of my cousins reached out to some of my relatives, expressed pride in me for standing up for myself, while others, particularly the older ones, seemed less understanding. They often advised that family should come first or that one should avoid discussing personal matters in public. It seemed as though they expected me to simply accept the situation and move on, perhaps for the sake of maintaining peace within the family. However, I felt that the trust one had in my parents had already been severely damaged, and Evan seemed to continue blaming me for the situation. I was frequently told that I was ungrateful. It seemed as though they expected me to be grateful for everything they had done for me, even though I was left with a $170,000 debt. The legal proceedings began slowly, as one might expect. Lawyers exchanged documents, dates were set, and so on. It's understandable that there are legal procedures to follow, but it can sometimes feel overwhelming. It was a challenging process, but my lawyer was very good at keeping me informed and explaining things in a way that made me feel supported. However, every time I had to attend a meeting or sign something, it was a difficult reminder that this was my reality. Then, about a week ago, there was a change in circumstances. My lawyer called to let me know that my parents wanted to settle. I believe they finally realized that I wasn't going to back down, and that this was going to cost them more than just $80,000. If it went all the way to court, it would undoubtedly cost them much more. I wasn't surprised. They've always been more about saving face than actually doing what's right. However, hearing that they wanted to settle, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders, even if just a little bit. We met at my lawyer's office. At the office, my parents appeared somewhat worn down, as if the situation had taken a toll on them. My mother seemed unable to make eye contact with me, and my father appeared angry. It seemed as if he was struggling to believe that I was the one responsible for holding them accountable for their actions. The settlement discussions were somewhat tense, and my lawyer did most of the talking, which I was grateful for because I wasn't sure if I would have been able to remain calm in that situation. We attempted to negotiate, offering a lesser sum than what they owed. However, my lawyer advised otherwise, emphasizing the strength of our case and the likelihood of a more substantial financial outcome if we settled promptly. Ultimately, they agreed to repay the full $80,000, along with a modest additional sum for legal fees. While this outcome wasn't as resounding as I had hoped, it was a satisfactory resolution. I had achieved my objective, but at what cost? My relationship with my parents is beyond repair, and Evan didn't even show up. He seemed to feel that it wasn't his problem anymore. Now that Mom and Dad were paying up, when we left the office, my mom tried to talk to me. She said she was sorry that they never meant for things to get this bad. But I couldn't even look at her. I just told her it was too late for apologies. I know that may sound harsh, but I felt it was the right thing to do. I've heard sorry so many times before it loses all meaning. Actions speak louder than words, and their actions have been pretty loud. My dad didn't say anything as we left. He just walked out, not even looking back. I stood there for a minute watching them go, and it hit me that this might be the last time I ever see them. How do you come back from something like this? It's not like we can just pretend it never happened. Too much has been said. I feel that perhaps too many lines have been crossed. I am unsure if I even want to try to fix things, especially after everything that has happened. The money came through a few days later, and I used it to pay off the last of the loan. I am now debt-free, but it does not feel as great as I thought it would. There is a sense of emptiness where my family used to be, and I am not sure how to fill it. My friends have been amazing, and my girlfriend has been my rock through all this. But there's still a gap that needs to be filled. It's like no matter how challenging things were with my parents, they were still my parents, and now they're just people I used to know. I'm trying to move on and focus on the future. My internship turned into a full-time job, and I'm doing well for myself. I've started looking at apartments and thinking about maybe moving to a new city to start anew, but it's challenging to move on from a situation that has left me with a sense of loss, even when I recognize the toxicity of the circumstances. At times, I find myself questioning whether I made the best decision. Perhaps I should have chosen to let things go, to endure the consequences, and to maintain a sense of harmony. However, I am reminded of how they treated me and how they used me. I am confident that I did what I felt was right. While doing the right thing may not always feel positive, it is sometimes necessary. I am currently trying to figure out what comes next and rebuild my life without the people who were supposed to be there for me. It is not easy, and I would be lying if I said I did not have doubts. However, I am learning to trust myself and believe that I can stand on my own 2 feet without needing their approval. I think that this whole experience has taught me that I am stronger than I ever thought I was. I have come to realize that it is not always necessary to keep fighting for people who do not support me. Sometimes, the only way to find peace is to walk away from those who cause you distress. I am not sure what the future holds, but I am at peace with the idea that it will unfold as it will. I am ready to start living my life for myself, not for anyone else. I believe this is the best outcome I could have hoped for.